Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Not that long ago, that had no leaves on it. I got to the point now where I don't want this, I don't like it. I can't be doing with trimming a tree every 2 weeks to try and keep it in shape. What I'm going to do now is take all of this new growth back to 1 or 2 buds, just literally. And the reason I'm going to do that is so people can see what the tree looks like. And then if you fancy it, you can have it. A reasonable price, make me an offer. You need to be in the UK, obviously. It's a live plant. I just don't like it. I can't be bothered with the sheer amount of pruning it takes to keep it in shape. And even then, it's not even that shape. It's not even that good when you do that. So I'm just taking these off. It's a bit tedious, but yeah, I mean, look at the size of the leaves. Look at the length of the internodes. I can't be dealing with that. When I got this, it was a long time ago, and I didn't really know what I was getting into. I mean, the other thing that I don't like about elms is the alternate leaves. Now, the only good thing about that is you can choose the direction of growth when you cut back. Yeah, but you have to keep cutting back. How many times can you keep choosing the direction of growth on one tree? So, yeah, I find this a tedious job. I don't enjoy this at all because it's like tiny little twigs. But if you don't do it, you've just got a giant bush. And any shape or anything that you had, you know, any ramification, which is almost impossible, because of the size of the leaves relative to the twig size, you know. So I've had enough of it, quite honestly, I really have. And I should have brought my green tray out here for the debris so that it doesn't go all over the floor, but that's what hoovers are for. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just literally picking on every single shoot that wasn't there a couple of weeks ago. None of this growth was there. This is all new growth, every bit of it. It's just burst out, and it does this every year, and I hack it back, and then in a few weeks' time it'll all be back again, and you hack it back, and you just fight it all year round. And I don't ever see, where's the end? Where is the point where it settles down and it can spend quite a lot of months without actually being pruned? Where does that point come? It's just so vigorous. And for those of you that are still wondering, it's a Zelkova serrata, which I believe, common name, I think is Chinese elm. But it's just such a vigorous tree. I mean, if you want something that grows really fast, then get one of these, but you still have to work out what the hell you're going to do with it when it grows that fast. What are you going to do with all that growth? I can't control it. I just don't know what to do with it. And it is that. I just don't know what to do with it. Apart from just keep doing this. Just keep cutting it back over and over again. And like I said, I've had enough of it. So now inside here, once we eventually get in there, is a twin trunk. The two trunks are quite nice. It's got quite a nice base. It's even got shoots coming out of there. It shoots out from the trunk. You know, it does that. Right when you don't want it to, but it will do that. And it will fill in the gap between the two trunks. It does that, you know, and then you have to go and clear that out, otherwise you can't even see them. But the problem with it is, as far as structure is concerned, yes, it's a twin trunk, and it does have some quite good branches, but it's got some gaps. There's quite a gap there with nothing because of dieback. This side's not so bad. It's got branches in most of the places you would want. The two apexes are not very good at all. That one's been chopped, and the growth that was chosen as the leader was allowed to grow sideways, but that could possibly be wired, although I think it might snap. It could be wired a bit at a time and turned into an apex. It could be chopped again and choose a new apex. Choices. And this one up here, the apex is just a tangle, and again when you get in there and you detangle it, all you've got really is a trunk chop. Now, I know everybody thinks it's a wonderful thing to do, but when you get a really thick trunk and you chop it, you're never going to get rid of that, you know, unless you want to live another 20 years. It's always going to be there. It's always going to look like, oh look, that's where the trunk was chopped. It's not natural, and I don't personally like it. Now, if you catch it right, if you've got a branch that's growing away from the trunk, that's not quite as thick as the trunk, but the base of it's not far off, and then it gets thinner, that will make a good continuation for a trunk because it will blend. And that sort of taper between the two will blend in and not look too bad after a while. But when you get a trunk that's 1 inch across and you chop it off and you've got a twig that you're going to call the apex, that's never going to disappear. It's always going to look like that. As I said, unless you've got 20 or 30 years to add on, which I haven't. If I get 20 years from the age I am now, I'll be lucky. I mean, I've booked in to be the genuine grumpy old man. Genuine article. I think you get a badge, but you have to earn it. You know, you can't just sit there. You have to earn it. You have to. And YouTube's a brilliant place to become a grumpy old man. You think I'm serious, don't you? Oh dear. I never know how far I can play before people start thinking, "Ooh, don't like this bloke." Ooh. It's a joke. Or as somebody once said, a comedian, as he beat the hell out of a fluffy little toy, "It's a puppet." It's just a joke. It's a bit of fun. Anyway, I'm getting to the point now where I've already had enough of this. Now, this hasn't actually taken this long, really, has it? You know, I'm just fed up with doing it. That's what it comes down to. I've done it once too often, and now I've done it again, and that's on top of once too often. So, if you fancy a twin trunk Zelkova, my email address is in the appropriate place. I think you have to go into the description and click on about or something or other. It's in there somewhere. You have to do a bit of work and just make me an offer, basically. But as I said, you do need to be in the UK, because otherwise, you know, we have all sorts of infringements thanks to Brexit. But anyway, you can see a little bit more shape now. Anyway, you know, you've got a tangle of branches here that might need thinning out. What do you mean might need thinning out? That needs thinning out. There's a cluster of branches there. Well, that's too many, only one. But that means there's a bit of work to do. I'm not doing it all for you. And then you end up with a twin trunk. This was repotted at the beginning of last year, so it can stay in its pot for a bit. It's a training pot. It's not not a good pot. It's just a plastic pot. But at the time this was repotted, I think that's all I had. I have got some, and the weed is free. You can have that. I'm just coming around the back now. You can't sort of forget the back. But I mean, look at this. Look at this extension pointing out the back of the tree. It just goes on and on. So, if you fancy something that you will need to work at, and the end result with some work could be very pleasing, I would think. I've seen some smashing Zelkovas at shows, and because of the fact that I've got one and I've seen the effort that's needed, I quite admire them on the grounds that I sort of think, I know what you've had to do to get to there, I'm not prepared to do it. Simple as that. What was I saying? I've had my go with this, I've had it a while, but it is something you do have to just work at it. Every time you cut one of these back to a bud, it will shoot out from that leaf, the leaf below your cut. So you can choose the direction, But if you don't watch it, in a short amount of time, that will then be one of those long extensions, which you don't want, so you have to trim it back again. You just got to keep at it, and if you do, you can end up with quite a nice tree. Now I'm going to have missed some, but like I said, you know, if you're going to take the tree, you need to be able to do a bit of work yourself, don't you? I never really decided which was the front. No, again, you can choose. The person before me chopped a few roots off, which was not very elegant. That could be adjusted by adjusting the height in the pot. This pot is quite shallow, actually. God, there's a big one I missed. Anyway, you get the general idea of what is needed to keep this in check. And if you keep it in check, really keep on top of it, the leaves will get smaller. The vigour will gradually be taken out of it. Because that's half the problem, it generates its own vigour. You let it go, and those big long extensions with all those big leaves on just put energy into the flipping thing. It just does it again. So you just got to keep on top of it. So anyway, that is it. If anybody wants it, it's a bit of fun. As I say, genuine twin trunks are not actually that common. There's not much movement in the trunks as such, and there's not much you can do about that because they're so thick. But yeah, if it is of interest to you, send me an email, make me an offer, and we can do the deal. I'll have to find a box to put it in, won't I? See, I'm making more work for myself now, aren't I? Anyway, there you go. That is my Zelkova serrata that I personally have had enough of. So up to you. If you fancy it, give us a shout and I'll make it so. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.